Have you ever felt like you weren't enough? Like others had something you didn't? Like you'd have to work twice as hard just to get halfway there? That feeling we often call shyness, shame, or a sense of not measuring up. Alfred Adler, one of the pioneers of modern psychology, called it the inferiority complex. And what's most interesting is that he didn't study it from afar. He lived it. Adler was born with serious health problems, so severe he nearly died as a child. He saw his brothers as stronger, more capable, and from a very young age he felt what millions of people feel in silence. I'm not like the others. There's something missing in me. But Adler didn't stay there. He didn't give in. He turned his insecurity into fuel, and that became the heart of his theory. What makes you feel small today could become the spark that leads you to your purpose. Did you know that many of the world's most successful people feel, deep down, that they're not enough? It's a silent wound that can take us down very different paths. Some become paralyzed, others push themselves to exhaustion, and many hide behind masks. But Adler saw it differently. To him, we're all born with a certain sense of inferiority. It's part of being human. It's not a flaw. It's a driver. The key lies in what you do with it. Adler called the inferiority complex, that persistent feeling of not being good enough. It can come from childhood, from comparisons, from failure, from being mocked. But the problem isn't feeling it once. The problem is living from that place. When that feeling takes over, you start acting to compensate. And that's when the masks appear. The one who always needs to be right. The one who wants to please everyone. The one who looks successful but feels empty. The one who attacks first to avoid being hurt. Do you recognize yourself in any of these? Don't judge yourself. At some point, we've all developed strategies to protect ourselves from the fear of not being enough. But Adler suggested something else. Don't compensate. Transformation. For Adler, true healing doesn't come from competition. It comes from contribution. When you stop seeing yourself as less than or better than, and start asking, how can I be of use to others? That's when healing begins, because you stop looking inward with judgment and start looking outward with purpose. And that doesn't mean you have to save the world. It means recognizing that what you've lived through, what hurt you, what challenged you, can become the tool with which you help others. What if your purpose isn't found in what you dream of doing, but in what hurt you the most? Adler believed people become stronger when they turn their wounds into direction. He himself, who felt weak as a child, became a doctor and a psychologist, not to prove his worth, but to help others realize they could heal too. And you, what part of your story still weighs on you like a burden? Could that very story become your guide? Maybe what once made you feel small is showing you exactly what you came here to transform. Let go of comparison. One of the greatest poisons of our time is comparison. Social media, expectations, stereotypes, everything seems to tell us how we should be. But Adler was clear. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. When you understand this, you stop running someone else's race, and you start walking your own path. And there's nothing more freeing than that. The power to choose. Adler deeply believed in human freedom. To him, we weren't puppets of the past. We were active creators of the present. You may have had a difficult childhood. You may have experienced injustice. You may have learned to stay quiet, not to be a burden, to look for love in empty places. But that doesn't define who you are today. It simply explains where you came from. The real question is, who do you choose to be now? And that's a powerful question, because it gives you back the power. Change isn't perfection. It's a decision many people don't change because they think they have to be ready, that they need to heal first before they can move forward. But Adler thought differently. For him, change doesn't begin with perfection. It begins with a decision, a small decision, a tiny action, a different word, a no you didn't dare say before, a yes that had been waiting a long time. Every step counts, and every step, no matter how small, takes you closer to your purpose. Being brave doesn't mean being fearless. We often think we need to get rid of fear before we can act. But Adler said courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear. When someone makes a brave choice, it's not because they feel strong. It's because they choose to act from purpose, not from their wound. And that changes everything. Healing self-worth through purpose. We often look for self-worth in the wrong places, in achievements, in validation, in the eyes of others. But Adler offered something revolutionary. Self-worth isn't something you find. It's something you build by contributing. When you start to see that your presence matters, that you have something to give, that your life touches others, the way you see yourself begins to shift. And you don't need to do huge things. Sometimes a word, a moment of listening, an idea, an act of kindness is enough. Because purpose doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply lives quietly in your actions, learning to trust yourself again. Maybe you were told you weren't enough, that you were too sensitive, too intense, too slow, too different, and that made you hide, doubt, go quiet. But Adler would invite you to something different. Trust yourself again, not because you've got it all figured out, but because no one else can live your path for you. And maybe what you think you're missing is actually what makes you unique. Your story doesn't end with the wound. Life has left its marks on you. Yes, but you're not doomed to repeat those marks. You're invited to transform them, and that doesn't happen overnight. But it can start today, with a gesture, with an honest look, with a small decision, with one question. What can I do today to move closer to the life I want? Because you are not that insecurity that paralyzes you. You are so much more. Adler left us a powerful message, one that hasn't lost its relevance. Your wound is not your destiny. It's your starting point. Every time you feel less than enough, remember, Adler felt the same, and he chose not to stay there. So can you. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one step, from fear to courage, from judgment to acceptance, from insecurity to purpose. That's the path, and you're walking it.